Today, we're going to dive into a system that basically runs the entire world of commerce, but you almost never, ever see it. It's called inventory modeling. It's pretty much the hidden science that decides what's actually on the shelves when you go shopping. All right, let's get into it.
So, you've been there, right? You go to the store, you're looking for that one specific snack, that one drink you love, and poof, empty shelf. It's super frustrating. But here's the thing, it's not random. That empty space is actually a clue to a much, much bigger challenge.
You see, every single company, from the tiny corner store to the giant online retailers, is trying to solve this incredibly tricky puzzle 24/7. It's a puzzle made of predictions, of costs, and, of course, of keeping customers like us happy. And if they get it wrong, the consequences are huge.
At its core, it's really what you could call the Goldilocks problem. A business can't have way too much stock sitting around, that's just burning money. But they also can't have too little, because then they lose sales and tick off their customers. They need the amount of stuff on hand to be, well, just right. The official name for all this is inventory management. And it's the whole shebang. It's the systematic approach to sourcing, storing, and selling literally everything a company deals with. We're talking everything from tiny screws in a factory all the way to the finished products just waiting to be sold.
So what's the goal here? Well, it's kind of three things at once. First, optimize your resources. So don't waste space, don't waste money. Second, slash costs wherever you can. And third, and this is probably the most important one, keep the customers happy by having what they want when they want it. Sounds simple, right? But the solution is anything but. And that's because the solution is all about trade-offs. You see, pretty much every single decision you make when it comes to inventory is a balancing act. You're constantly juggling these competing costs, where pushing one down almost always makes another one go up.
And it really all comes down to these four big costs. First, you've got the purchasing cost. That's just what you pay for the stuff itself. Then there's the ordering cost, which is a fixed fee for things like paperwork and delivery every single time you place an order. Next, and this one's huge, is the holding cost. That's the cost of storage, insurance, and the risk that your stuff becomes worthless. And finally, there's the shortage cost. That's the price you pay in lost sales and angry customers when you run out.
And this right here, this visualizes that central conflict perfectly. Check it out. If you order in small batches all the time, your holding costs, your storage fees, are super low. Great, but you're paying that fixed ordering fee again and again and again. Now, flip it. If you place a few massive orders, you save a ton on ordering fees, but now your holding costs go through the roof, and all your money is just sitting there, tied up in a warehouse. See the dilemma? So, how in the world do you find that perfect balance? Is there some magic number? Well, for a long time, the classic way to find it has been a model called the economic order quantity, or just EOQ.
The EOQ model is designed to do one thing and one thing only. It calculates the perfect, optimal order size that makes the total cost of ordering and holding inventory as low as it can possibly go. It's basically the mathematical solution to the Goldilocks problem.
Now, there's a catch. To do its job, the basic EOQ model has to live in a perfect world. It has to assume that you know exactly what your customers are going to want, that new stock just magically appears the second you run out, that all your costs are totally stable, and that you are never, ever allowed to run out of anything. It's a simplification for sure, but it's a really powerful way to understand the core logic. We are not going to get into the weeds with the actual math, don't worry. But what the formula does is find that one specific point, that exact order quantity, where the cost of holding your inventory and the cost of ordering it are perfectly balanced. It's the absolute sweet spot. Okay, let's make this real. Let's imagine a small welding workshop. They use about 1,000 pounds of welding rods every year. It costs them $3.60 every time they place an order and 50 cents a pound to store the rods for the year. So, given those numbers, what's their magic number? 120. That's it. That's the answer the EOQ model spits out. So what does that mean? It means the workshop owner should order exactly 120 pounds of rods every single time if they want the most cost-effective way to run their business. That is their optimal order size. And this is the beautiful part. This is why it works. At that magic number of 120, their total annual cost for placing all their orders comes out to $30. And their total annual cost for holding that inventory, it's also exactly $30. The two costs that were fighting each other are now in perfect balance. That is the EOQ sweet spot. But, okay, that's great for the model's perfect little world. What happens when we step back into the real world? You know, the world of fickle customers, shipping delays, and supply chain nightmares. What happens when the world isn't so perfect?
Well, the single biggest difference is demand. The basic model assumes what we call deterministic demand. It's known, it's constant, it's predictable. But reality is probabilistic. It's uncertain, it goes up and down, and you have to rely on forecasts, which, let's be honest, can be wrong.
And that uncertainty creates a massive risk. You see, the time between when you place an order and when it actually shows up at your door is called lead time. If your customers suddenly start buying way more than you expected during that lead time, you're going to have an empty shelf before your new shipment arrives.
So, how do businesses deal with this? The answer is something called safety stock. And it's a really simple but brilliant idea. You still forecast what you think your average demand will be, but then you add a little extra, a busser, just in case. This safety stock lets you set your reorder point higher, so you end up placing your next order a little bit earlier. It gives you a cushion to handle those surprises.
Okay, so we've talked about all these costs, these perfect world models, and real-world chaos. But why does any of this actually matter to you? How do we connect these abstract ideas to your actual shopping cart?
This quote really just says it all perfectly. This isn't just about one company trying to save a few bucks. It's about making the entire supply chain, that enormous global network that gets things made and moved around, more efficient and more cost-effective for everyone.
Think about it. This constant, incredibly complex balancing act between ordering costs, holding costs, and shortage costs is happening right now for every single product you can possibly imagine. It's the invisible engine that keeps the global river of goods flowing from a factory halfway across the planet, all the way to your front door.
So, I'll leave it with this thought. The next time you see that empty shelf where your favorite snack is supposed to be, you'll know it's not just some random bit of bad luck. It's a signal that somewhere in that delicate, complicated balancing act, something went wrong. Was it a sudden crazy spike in demand they couldn't predict? Did they decide the high cost of a potential shortage just wasn't worth it? Or maybe, was their safety stock just not quite safe enough? Kind of makes you look at that empty shelf a little differently, doesn't it?